The pollen grain represents the male gametophyte. Okay, if you touch the open anther of hibiscus or any other flower, you would find the deposition of the yellowish powdery pollen grain on your finger. Okay, the pollen grain represents the male gametophyte. Okay, embryo sac. Embryo sac refers to the female gametophyte. I will tell in the next classes that embryo sac refers to female gametophyte and pollen grain represents the male gametophyte. If you touch the when you touch the any flower hibiscus or any flower of any flower near the stigma, you will find that the yellowish powdery deposition on your fingers. That are the pollen grains that are deposited on the stigma. Okay. Sprinkle these grains on a drop of water and take a glass slide and observe under the microscope. And observe under the microscope. You can take that small powdery pollen grains and put that on a glass slide and you can observe that on the microscope. What you will observe in that is you will really be amazed at the variety of the architecture, size, shape, color, design seen on the pollen grains, okay, from different species. Different pollen grain species are different in structure. You observe the different in shapes, colors, designs. You can see the few examples they are given in textbook NCRT. This is also the pollen scanning electron microscope of a few pollen grains. Okay, how beautiful you can see. These are the pollen grains are viewed under the electron microscope. Different sizes, colors, shapes you can observe in this diagram. And then the pollen grains are generally spherical, measuring about the 25 to 50 micrometer in diameter. This is the pollen grain. You can imagine that it has the pollen grain. Pollen grain generally spherical in shape. You can see it is a spherical in shape about 55 to 25 to 50 micrometer in diameter. You have to remember this number 25 to 50 micrometers. It has a prominent two-layered wall. Okay, the pollen grain has the prominent two-layered wall. One, two, outer layer, inner layer. The hard outer layer, called as the exene, is made up of the sporopollenin. The hard outer layer, called as the exene, it is made up of sporopollenin. Okay, which is the most resistant organic material known. It can withstand the high temperature and strong acids and alkali. No enzyme that degrades this sporopollenin is so far known. Means it is very important for the second PU. They can give in the Neet also and in the second PU also that sporopollenin function. The hard outer layer of the exene is sporopollenin. It is very resistant to the any organic material and it can withstand the high temperature and strong acids and also the alkali. No enzyme in this word is discovered to degrade the sporopollenin is so far known. Okay, you have to write like this. Okay, they can ask for 2 marks this function of the sporopollenin and for NEET examination also they can ask. Pollen grain exene is a prominent aperture called jump pore where sporopollenin is absent. Exene has the prominent aperture called as the jump pores in the sporopollenin is absent where the jump pore is present. Pollen grains are well preserved as the fossil because the presence of the sporopollenin. Okay, pollen grains are preserved because of the presence of the sporopollenin because of the wide range of uses of the sporopollenin. Pollen grains are stored. The hexane exhibits The hexane exhibits a fascinating array of patterns and designs. Why do you think the exam should be hard? What is the function of jumper? These are the questions. They are asking many questions in the middle of the NCRT. You have to find answers. The inner wall of the what is the function of jumper? The inner wall of this pollen grain is called as the intestine. It is a odd, continuous layer made up of the cellulose and pectin. This is the inner wall and is a thin, continuous third point and made up of cellulose and pectin fourth point. The cytoplasm of pollen grain is the 4 points of intestine. The cytoplasm of pollen grain is surrounded by the plasma membrane. Pollen grain cytoplasm is also surrounded by the plasma membrane as like in the animal and plant cell. When the pollen grain is matured, it contains the two cells, the vegetative cell and the generative cell. The vegetative cell is the bigger and has a abundant food reserve and a large irregularly shaped nucleus. Pollen grain contains the two cells that are the vegetative cell and the generative cell. Very important. Vegetative cell is the larger and bigger and it has the abundant food reserve in that and it has a large irregularly shaped nucleus. Nucleus shape is irregular. The generative cell is small and floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. Generative cell is small, it floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. It is a spindle shaped with a dense cytoplasm and a nucleus. The generative cell is a spindle shaped cell with a dense cytoplasm and a nucleus. In over 60% of angiosperms, pollen grain are shed at this two-celled stage. In over 60% of angiosperms, okay, pollen grain are shed at two-celled stage. In the remaining species, the generative cell, that is the in over 60% pollen grains are shed at two-celled stage. In remaining 40% of the species, generative cells divide mitotically to give rise to the two male gametes before the pollen grains are shed. Okay? In 40%, you have to remember that mitotically, divides mitotically. It gives rise to two male gametes before pollen grains are shed. This is called as a three-celled stage. This is the two-celled stage. Okay? I will show the diagrams. Okay? The diagrams of the vegetative cell, generative cell, exine, intine. See, this is the pollen grain and this is the pollen grain. They are labeled vacuoles and then this is the nucleus. Okay, and this is the pollen grain. This is the vacuole, that fused vacuole, and this is the asymmetric spindle. Okay, this is asymmetric spindle, and this is the pollen grain with the vegetative cell, and then as it matures it forms the vegetative cell and then the generative cell. This is the vegetative cell, irregular shaped nucleus, and it has the abundant food reserve, and this is the generative cell. It is a spindle shaped and it flows in the cytoplasm of vegetative cell. In larger view of the pollen grains, stages of the microspore maturing into the pollen grain. Okay, these are the pictures.